Okay, so welcome to Talking Point with Stephen Taylor, and it's an honor to be joined by the new British High Commissioner in South Africa, Nigel Casey. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
How are you, sir?
Very well.
It's good to have you here, finally, man.
Thanks for having me on the show.
So tell me about you and where you grew up, where you were born. Take us back like all those years.
Okay, so I'm a career diplomat.
Yeah.
I was born in the UK, born in a town called Leamington Spa, in the heart of England.
Where's
near
that?
Stratford.
Oh, right.
Between Stratford, Coventry, Warwick, that area, right in the middle of England.
Okay.
And my father worked for a big cement company called Blue Circle, and so he was moved around the UK, and then he was sent to Indonesia and Nigeria. So I think I got a bit of a taste for living abroad and working abroad.
Oh, you travelled with him?
Yeah.
Right.
So we were kids when he was doing all that, and so I applied to join the Foreign Office when I left university, and it's a very long process. If you finally get offered a job, you take it. And I thought, well, I'll do this for a few years, and if it's enjoyable and rewarding, then I'll keep going.
So a few years is here.
The great thing about it is, it offers fantastic variety.
Yeah.
You're basically immersed in the best of any country for four years typically. Yes. Then you're back in London, and then you have a new experience somewhere else. So anyway, I was very lucky because the first place I was sent by the Foreign Office was right here.
Really?
Not Cape Town, but Joburg.
All right.
So I came out as a sort of 24-year-old diplomat, my first posting, and it was 1993. So
just at the turn of
the most exciting time to be coming to South Africa. Actually, as I keep reminding people when they ask me what I think of South Africa now, I say, well, the time I came and the day I came was the day, I don't know if you remember, the day the AWB drove that armoured personnel carrier through the plate glass of Kempton Park.
Yes.
And it was a time when there's huge violence, and particularly in the townships on the East Rand.
You weren't there, were you?
So I was, my colleagues were at Kempton Park. I just came in from the airport and found them all watching TV or out there. So the point I make to people is, at that time, things were very uncertain, and the achievement of 1994 and what happened in the years that followed shouldn't be taken for granted. It was a achievement by a bunch of very determined and dedicated, committed people. There's a bit of a tendency now, as you know, to say, oh, they should have done this or that, and Madiba should have pushed for this or that. But I say, look, you've got to think about what he was facing, what the choices that he and his colleagues were facing at the time. And if you look at it in that context, it was a remarkable achievement. In any case, it was a great experience to be part of that.
What was your job? What did you start off with?
So I was in Johannesburg at the time. The ANC were based in Johannesburg at the Shell House, as it then was, which is around the corner from us, as were the PAC and the ZAPO and other parties. So my job was two things. It was, first of all, engaging those political parties, trying to make contact with them, establish links, and the other half of it, which is a very rewarding part of it, was we had a small project scheme running in townships around Johannesburg and in fact all over the country. And they were all typically community-based development projects, and so I used to administer that as well. And so it was a nice balance. It took me out of the office more than I was in the office.
And you liked that?
And it was great. It was a great experience. Yeah, and we actually felt that we were contributing to the change that was achieved. We were all part of the process that helped deliver the elections. I was an election observer, and we in a modest way, because it was an achievement by South Africans, not the international community.
Were you nervous? I mean, being so young, were you like, oh my goodness?
No, when you're that young, you don't think about that kind of stuff, do you? You just get on with it and do the best you can. And so it was a great start. I was very spoiled, and as a consequence, I've always hoped to come back here, and now I'm back.
Did you apply to come back here?
Yeah, I didn't just apply. I insisted.
You said, come on. So tell me about after that, from Johannesburg, where did you go after that?
So from Johannesburg, I went to Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
So for the sort of, Bill Clinton was just about to be elected for his second term. And so I had 3 happy years there with totally different experience from here.
Were you consul?
No, I was I was chief of staff to the ambassador, basically. And it was it was quite a dramatic time in American politics because again, in my my time there, the whole saga with Monica Lewinsky blew up. And
Washington's a flagship for like the British embassy.
Yeah,
right?
it's a very big. Yeah, it's a great post, and it's at the heart of a lot of our diplomacy. Obviously, working in Brussels and the EU has been a central job, but also working in Washington, it was much more kind of office work and traditional diplomacy than we'd had here, which was much more outdoors. So I had a happy few years there.
Did you meet Bill Clinton?
I did, yeah. I was just remembering on the way here that one of the great highlights of that time was, so in 1997 we had a change of government after a long period of the Conservatives being in power. Labour got in, Tony Blair got in, and so he came on a very big visit in the beginning of 1998, and it was quite a charged atmosphere because, as I said, the Monica Lewinsky saga had just broken. So journalists, and the very first press conference that Bill Clinton gave since that broke was with Tony Blair.
Oh wow!
So it's quite a famous. You can probably watch it on YouTube. Anyway, that night. The Clintons did a dinner for the Blair's party and us on the roof of the West Wing.
Oh wow!
And they had.
Oh, there's a roof.
Yeah, so there's a flat roof, and they put a marquee on the roof.
Oh, that was cool.
And Stevie Wonder was the entertainment.
Oh wow! Come on, name dropping now. Come on, Nigel.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was just one of those experiences you get as a diplomat. It was a great privilege, which you wouldn't, ordinarily.
And what is he like? What did you say to Bill Clinton?
Bill Clinton is one of those. He's what you expect. He's incredibly charismatic and personable, and
that's what you want from a leader,
he grabs the elbow, and what I was most impressed by is his ability to, as the Americans said, compartmentalize. He was in the middle of the most terrible political drama, and all the stuff swirling around, and yet he managed to focus on the Tony Blair visit, and he'd look you in the eye as you were coming past in this great big line. I mean, this half of Hollywood was there. You remember he'd had Barbara Streisand was there, Tom Hanks, and Harrison Ford, all these great heroes.
Did you chat to any of them?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, Harrison Ford is one of my great heroes.
How is he in real life? He looks very miserable.
Wonderful. No, he's not. Well, I don't know. He was cheerful enough. I don't know. I couldn't tell.
Maybe if you catch him off guard, probably maybe. But I like him as an actor. He's a good actor.
He's a terrific actor. Well, if I grew up on Star Wars. That was probably one of the first films.
I see the new one's coming out soon. So
yes,
we should go watch it.
My kids are looking forward to it.
So tell me about, would you want to be in America now with what's going on there?
Well, listen, the truth is for us, the more complicated and extraordinary situation.
Who's the ambassador there for the?
A colleague of mine called Kim Darroch, Sir Kim Darroch, who's a great guy, excellent diplomat, very experienced.
Is he finding it tough?
No, look, I think he's finding it fascinating. You've got to love
Do you speak to him?
Jobs. We're in touch on email now and again. I mean, I used to see a lot of him in my last job. I was working in Number 10. He was the National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister, so we saw each other every day. But he's a great guy, and I know he will be enjoying this because it's unique and it's very different. And America's never had a president quite in this mold before, but I know he'll be enjoying every day of it.
Okay, so after America, tell us about your journey. What happened? Where did you go from there?
So after that, I was back in the UK for a few years. Met my wife.
As you do, right?
Got married. So that was big change in my life. And then after that, I was posted off to Russia. So I learned Russian.
Okay.
Had a year trying to learn Russian, which I don't recommend. Not for fun, anyway. It's a great language.
Right?
It's a great language, but that's helpful. And then I had 3 years in Russia, which was
Is it cold?
Yeah. I mean, my last week in Russia, it was -30, which
what?
You're quite used to -10, and I found that quite brisk and exhilarating, and lovely and clear. But -20 is very different, and then you think it
can't get any worse.
Any colder. It wouldn't make any difference. Actually, it does. -30 is totally.
What do you wear? Like just everything?
The problem is you can't cover your face without looking like a sort of criminal.
Right. Yeah.
So you reckoned about at -20 you could go for about 25 minutes before your nose started to feel.
But I mean, can you get hypothermia in that? Can you?
Well, everything else is wrapped up, obviously.
Okay. That's why they need the vodka, right? To warm you up.
Exactly. Keep the circulation.
And then Russia. So what happened? Where did you?
So to Russia, I had 3 years in Russia. Then.
So can you speak Russian?
Yeah, well, I did learn Russian for that. I mean, the trouble is, as you go on postings, you learn one language and it goes on top of everything else, and everything else gets pushed down. So I've now.
Is that part of the criteria, or you just do it on your own?
Oh no, it's part of the training. If you go into a post which requires it, we're coming to South Africa where English is so widely spoken, it's not essential. I did do.
Maar kan je Afrikaans praten? Nee.
Bekkie Afrikaans.
Okay, wow, that's awesome.
No, I also did a couple of weeks of Zulu.
Okay.
So it's one of my resolutions for 2018 is to really get back to studying. I mean, the slight challenge in South Africa, as in India where I went after Russia, is that there are so many official languages that you have to really. I mean, in India, you could say, right, I'm going to learn Hindi, but that's North India, right? Yeah. So you go to Tamil Nadu, they speak Tamil.
Oh, wow.
You go to Bengal, they speak Bengali. You go down to anywhere else has basically got there's Canada. There's a different language group for every region of India, and so your incentive to keep really plugging away is reduced. And here, of course, in Pretoria, where I'm most of the time, people don't speak Zulu. No. It's Sotho and Sepedi and Tswana.
But the cool thing about Afrikaans is if you learn that, maybe you go to Holland, or then you're okay. Then you kind of know
you can do it in the Netherlands or Flanders. Yeah, exactly.
Then you're ready.
Then you're halfway there.
Yeah. So
after Moscow, I was posted to India, which is a fantastic experience.
How is India? Because we see there's the main parts of India, but they also have poverty there as well. A lot of poverty.
Oh, tremendous! It's a tremendously poor country in many respects. It's developing very fast, very fast growth. While I was there, sort of 7-8% a year, and it was a very exciting time to be there, and our relationship was growing fast with India. We had an awful lot going on there, politically, culturally, economically, and as with South Africa, there's a long, rich history with the UK, and a very thick kind of human bond with lots of Indians living and working in the UK and vice versa. So that was a great time. Our kids particularly enjoyed growing up in Delhi. I'm slightly glad they're not there at the moment, because I don't know if you've seen the pictures of the air pollution in Delhi. Delhi suffers because during the winter they have a particular climactic effect where the air gets trapped on Delhi, and then the neighbouring states, there's lots of stubble being burnt as the crops are burnt. So
must you wear a mask?
You'll see pictures of lots of people wearing masks. It's quite thick smog. So
it's not because of swine flu; it's because of the
exactly.
So how does one apply to become a diplomat? Is it a rigorous process?
In our system, it is. It's a very popular job. So you typically get. Well, you'd be surprised. Yeah, you typically get. I'm just trying to think. In the year I applied. I think there were probably about 5,000 applicants, and I think maybe 15 places.
That's hectic.
So what you do is you apply to the civil service as a whole, and then you say, my first preference is to go and work in the Foreign Service, or I want to work in the Treasury, or
you can choose.
Yeah, you can express a preference. I mean, some departments are harder to get into historically. It's the Foreign Office and the Treasury are probably the hardest. The international development departments now very popular for lots of young people. So anyway, you express a preference, and you go and do a generic civil service exam. I think it's now online probably, which is a kind of aptitude test. And if you get through that, then you'll go to a selection board. And there were 3 stages in the days I did it. It's a bit simpler now, but it basically is designed to select people with a sort of generic set of skills to do the job, any job in the civil service, and in particular, the particular thing about the Foreign Office is it's a people business, really, because you have to interact with other human beings.
That's right.
Other bits of civil service you can get by on kind of brain power, logic, and then kind of more London office jobs. This one is being out and about, so you have to be able to do a bit of both. So you get through all that, and then finally they offer you a job, you grab it.
So were you ever a consul general?
I was vice consul in Johannesburg. I mean, there are lots of kind of complications about names in the Foreign Service. Just to simplify it. If you are in, so there's ambassadors and high commissioners, which are the same thing. The only difference is if you're in a Commonwealth country like South Africa,
that's right,
you're called a high commissioner. So the South African,
previously not owned, but like previous part of like that territory. How does it work?
It's basically if you're a member of the Commonwealth.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the Commonwealth is not just states that used to be linked to Britain. So the countries Rwanda have joined the Commonwealth in recent years, so it's open to all. Mozambique. Okay. So the so you've got high commissioners and ambassadors who are the same. They're the heads of mission, and then if you're in a post which is not in the capital, let's say you're in Johannesburg or Cape Town with your ambassador or high commissioner in Pretoria, then you'll be a consul general. So in Cape Town we have a very good Ed is our consul general there. So you are head of a consulate, and that's a kind of offshoot basically of the
so you're the boss.
Mothership of the embassy. Yes, if you're the ambassador or high commissioner, you are, and then that person will report in to you. But they have a lot of discretion within their patch, and as you know, Ed is widely engaged with lots of people around and about the Cape.
But it's become like smaller. Like before, the passports and that used to be done by your office. Now it's done in the UK. So
no, we're still doing them in Pretoria. So we've basically tried to. The way our visa system works. Passports are done in the UK. Visas are done here. So for most.
So I applied for my UK passport.
Okay, so that has all been onshored, as they say. And the reason for doing that, and for outsourcing visa collection, is money, basically. So our visa and passport services are supposed to be self-financing, so they don't cost the UK taxpayer. That doesn't cost the UK taxpayer for a South African to visit the UK, which is fair enough.
There's another company that does it, or what?
No, so the way it works, like in Cape Town, for example, there's a visa application centre, which is run by our commercial outsourcing partner.
I think that's in Sea Point, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So you'll go into the office and you'll apply in person. You'll do your biometrics, which is your fingerprints and your eyes, and then your application will then go up to our decision-making centre, which is in Pretoria. And the decision will be taken in Pretoria, so it's all within South Africa. And then you'll get your passport back, hopefully quickly, and off you go. And by the way, 98.5 or 99% of applicants here are successful in getting a visa. Very, very few people get turned down, and only for very, very good reasons. So I know people don't like having a visa regime at all, but we try and be as efficient and quick and low cost as we can. And the reason, I say for onshoring some of the processes like passports is to keep that cost low again. So passporting is now done back home. And that's partly about security of
That's right. Is the visa thing a security thing as well? Because I mean, if you did away with visas, like some countries don't have visas, you can just go there and they just stamp when you arrive. You get 30 days or whatever.
Yes, exactly. So we part of the reason for going through the giving your biometric data, fingerprints, is so that we can be sure that the person who's arriving at Heathrow,
that's right, is that person
with the visa is the same person that applied.
Has that happened that it wasn't?
Yeah, that's really? why. That's why. It's, I don't know. I mean, I'm afraid the truth is that the UK is a popular destination. A lot of people want to travel. Most of them have a legitimate reason to come, and they're going to leave again. Some don't. And we, as you know, migration is a massive issue in UK politics, as it is in every country in Europe and many besides, including here in South Africa, where you've got similar pressures from lots of people wanting to come and live and work here because it's a kind of economic magnet.
Tell me about the relationship between South Africa and Britain at the moment. How is that?
Well, it's good. I mean, I'm delighted to come back and find
Judith did a good job.
I think a lot of her predecessors did. I mean, look, we have I think over the last 10 years in particular, what we're trying to do is to make sure that our relationship is firmly facing towards the future. So in the past, there's been a lot of focus on the past, and that's important. We don't want to forget that. We don't want to downplay it. It's an important part of our backstory, but we also want to build links and relationships that are faced on the future. So last week, for example, was South Africa Science Week. It's a fantastic thing. Lady Pandor has done a brilliant job of making that a really good international event. So she has people from all over the world and all over Africa now coming to Pretoria for a week of exchange, and it's really buzzing. We had a great team over from the Royal Academy of Engineering, research councils, all in Pretoria, meeting their counterparts from all over Africa.
Oh, wow.
and the world, and a great event. The Deputy President came and addressed it, and
nice.
Anyway, so there's a whole set of relationships we're helping to build with a bit of government money behind it, between institutions in South Africa and institutions in the UK.
So what is your mandate? What did they say when they said, right, Nigel, you're going to South Africa, you need to do this, this and this, or not?
Well, the single biggest thing, and this is my number one priority and the embassy's number one priority, is making sure that in the process of us leaving the EU, there's no damage done to our economic relationship with South Africa, which is important for South Africa as well as for us.
Okay.
So at the moment, we have a trade agreement with South Africa and its neighbours called the Economic Partnership Agreement. It's only been in force for a year. It took 7 years to negotiate.
Sure.
It's basically our trade agreement with South Africa. And so if you're exporting wine or fruit or whatever it may be, cars, to the UK or Europe, that's the agreement which you care about, because it basically reduces tariffs and quotas on pretty much everything.
So that swear word Brexit is quite a hectic thing.
Well, the reason it matters is, you know, we need to make sure that that agreement doesn't lapse for us when we leave. So we and for South African exporters to the UK. So we are in the process of negotiating basically a replica of that text.
All right.
So wherever it says the EU, it'll say the UK.
Okay.
And fixing all the technical things that need fixing to make it legally sound.
Okay.
And getting all that done and getting it ratified by the UK Parliament, by South African Parliament, by all the parliaments in the member states in SACU, in time for our leaving the EU, which is scheduled for March 2019.
Has Article 50 that's been done?
Yeah, so in fact, this week is the European Council, it's the meeting of all the heads of government of the EU, and we are very much hoping that the agreement which was made last week about complete the first phase of our talks about leaving the EU will be welcomed by the other EU 27 heads, and that we'll be able to move on to phase 2, where we're talking about our future relationship with the EU. And that's the real meat of it. That's our.
How many phases are there?
Just 2. Okay. The first phase was dealing with issues, a bit like a sort of divorce settlement. You know, you deal with the money and not quite the children, but in this case, the agencies that were in the UK. We had a banking agency and a medicines agency, which are European agencies, which are going to move back to other bits of the continent. And we had a particular challenge around the border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. So those 3 issues were phase 1. We've now got an agreement on phase 1, and we're going to move to phase 2, which is about the kind of long-term trade agreement between the UK and the remaining 27 members, and that hopefully will start in the next month or so. So
do you represent the United Kingdom or Britain?
That's right.
So that includes Ireland and Scotland?
It includes Northern Ireland.
Okay.
And Wales and Scotland.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the deal with Scotland wanting to leave the United Kingdom? Is that a thing?
Well, no, Scotland had a referendum in 2015 and 2014, autumn 2014, and the people of Scotland voted to remain in the United Kingdom. So that's where it stands. That's where the mandate lies.
Is there any risk of them leaving the UK?
Well, look, it's always a democratic choice that the British government at the time made it very clear that it respected the Scottish people's decision to have a referendum, reflected in the fact they'd elected a government which was the SNP, which had campaigned on that in its manifesto. So we negotiated with the Scottish government, laid the legal basis for a referendum. The referendum was carried out, and there was a pretty clear vote to remain in the UK. So that's where it stands.
I know there's a lot of British people that live in South Africa, and across Africa. When Brexit is done, when you leave the EU, will those people that have a British passport, will they still be able to travel through Europe, or is that still being negotiated?
Yes, I mean, well, on the first point, if you're already in the EU, or if you're from the EU and you're already in the UK, then your rights have been guaranteed by this withdrawal agreement.
Okay.
In respect of what will be the regime thereafter, I'm sure we'll be negotiating to get away from restrictions on
borders,
on people's ability to move around. What we won't be signed up to will be the single market, under which you have the absolute freedom of movement, including to work.
Okay.
That'll be where the area of change comes, but I don't see lots of barriers to people being able to freely move around.
Okay. On holiday. See, that's a whole show. Hey, we spoke about a lot, I know. It goes quick, eh? Yeah. We have to get you back again. Nigel Casey, British High Commissioner, thank you, sir. Thank you for your time, man. It was really great getting to know you in more detail. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Another episode of Talking Point was Stephen Taylor. We'll catch you back next week, same time, same place. God bless and look after yourself.